The worst set I've ever had in my entire life happened to be the first time I performed near my hometown in Tony Soprano's backyard. Also, it was the first time my in-laws saw me perform ever. And in true comedy fashion, the most devastating night of your life, and one good thing actually came from it. The show's taking place at Essex County Country Club, where I grew up. I didn't grow up near the country club. That's where, like, the Tony Soprano character lived. You gotta have money to live in that area, regardless of how you got it. I didn't grow up there. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Sometimes I tell people I'm from Newark, and people react like I just told them I grew up in an alleyway.
Oh my God, how'd you make it out? I'm so sorry to hear that. Where's my wallet? I just had it.
It's a rough place. Sure, but it's my place. I've lived in Brooklyn for the last 20 years, but I'm still proud to be from Newark. It made me who I am. Like, I want to be considered one of the Newark greats. Whitney Houston, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael B. Jordan, Alexis Guerreros. It's the Newark Mount Rushmore. I'm going to perform for my people. They don't think I talk too loud. They don't think I talk too fast. They don't think I'm rude. They drank the same water I drank growing up. And because I'm performing at a country club, I know I'm about to get paid pretty well. And at that point, your boy needed it bad. It's almost my wife's birthday, and the best I can do right now is a couple drink tickets and maybe some ramen noodles. I need to make some money so I can help pay the rent and get her a nice gift. This set is about to save her birthday. And if that wasn't enough, it got even better. How I even booked this gig is a comic much bigger than me and recently had done Madison Square Garden, hits me up and says, hey, do you want to open for me at Essex County Country Club? When? He was like, tonight. I'm like, I'm getting in my car right now. But this isn't just a one-time gig, because if a big name ever asks you to open for them and you do well, you may get other opportunities to open for them. And if that happens, I'm making money, baby. That doesn't mean I'm going to be rich. I'm probably not going to become a member of this country club anytime soon, but for my wife's birthday, we're not eating from a hot dog cart. This one gig was going to solve all my problems. Yeah. And then I walked in the room. As I walk into the venue, I'm greeted by the manager of the Essex County Country Club, and it's exactly what you think. This guy looks like the finance manager of a used Mazda car lot. I mean, this guy's got the slick back hairdo, the chest hair sticking out, the ill-fitting jacket, and he's like,
hey, welcome to the venue. We got lobster and shrimp for you guys. We got whatever alcohol you want as soon as the show's over, but we gotta get the show started, huh? You guys ready?
I was ready to go the whole drive here from Brooklyn. I was visualizing me crushing in this room. These are my people. I'm gonna have no problem, baby. Sure, the crowd's a bit drunk and they're still eating. All I need is a microphone, baby. I'm good to go. This guy hands me a microphone that looks like it's mostly used to stop robberies. It's covered in duct tape. Every component is loose. It's all making noises. No one knows the show's even happening. They made zero announcement and sends me to the stage. These people are eating dinner. They see me going to the stage. They're thinking, well, at least we know they didn't order a stripper. Jeez. I go on stage and I begin the set that can change my entire life. So into the mic. What's going on? Yeah, this microphone works about as well as I would if you asked me to guard Jalen Brunson. I mean, luckily, the crowd were respectful. Yeah, did you forget I said this is near Tony Soprano's house? There was a respectful human being within 40 miles of this building. They were animals. They started yelling. They were trying to heckle me. They were throwing napkins. It's pure mayhem. I look over. The manager's having a blast. He thinks this is normal. I look over at the headliner in a full panic because he knows he's next. I decide, let me get control of the room doing what I do best. You got a heckler? My response is going to destroy you. So this table's talking, boom, I roast that table. That table starts talking, boom, I roast that table. That table starts talking again. It's full pandemonium. Then I think, you know what, this mic don't even work. What if I stop using the mic? And then they kind of have to stay quiet to hear me a little bit. And that kind of started working. I've been bombing this whole time, but at least I can end strong. So I think, let me use my closer right here. They take a little time to set up. Maybe this was a little too long. Maybe the headliner's like, wow, look how good he is at recovering from a bad start. And I could get this room to be unified for when he goes up. I can still turn this into a positive. Nope, it's about to get much worse. All I want to do is finish strong, go eat my body weight in crustaceans, and drive back to Brooklyn with enough money to get my wife a nice gift and not embarrass myself further in front of my in-laws. Is that too much to ask? Apparently so. As long as I get to my punchline, everybody will laugh, and I'm good. And right before I get to it, I see someone walking towards me holding their phone up recording. I say, hey, you can't film this. And as it pulls down the phone, I see that it's my wife's cousin. The one I like, well, the one I used to like, because as he's flipping over the phone, I realize he's not filming. He's FaceTiming with my in-laws. My mother-in-law, she's a preschool teacher. She's waving at me. My father-in-law, on the other hand, he's looking at me about as horrified as you would as if you looked down and you saw Diddy applying oil. The look on his face is like, please just get me out of here. So now I'm not just bombing in front of my people and the headliner, but now also my in-laws. I'll never be able to live this down. Now I could get my wife the most expensive gift in the world, and it would still do nothing to assure her family she married the right guy. Dude, I'm going to be the butt of the joke in that family forever. I'll walk off that set and go to hand the headliner the microphone. He's going to have to go through the same thing I went through. Maybe this is something we could bond over. So I hand him the mic and I say, good luck. No, don't worry about it. They got me the good mic. There was a good mic.
Great. Have a good set. I'm definitely happy for you.
I walked straight to the bar, deflated. I sat there like a detective whose partner had just been hit. I don't know if the bartender could hear how bad the show was, or he could just see that look on my face like a dog at the shelter who, yet again, nobody wants to adopt. But without a word, he just hands me a whiskey. And I just sit there in silence for the next hour. And every time somebody from the showroom walks past me on the way to the bathroom, they just silently pat me on the back, which, by the way, makes it worse. I can hear as the doors open, the headliner just absolutely crushing with his voice crystal clear. Eventually, he walks off to a standing ovation. He looks at me and goes, rough night, huh? You think? I wanted to sit there and defend myself. No, it wasn't me. It was the microphone. It was the people that were drunk. They were still eating, blah, blah, blah. I just sat there silently, staring at the whiskey in front of me, just thinking about how I just messed up the biggest opportunity I would have. I couldn't even eat the lobster or the shrimp. I just left. I just silently drove past my childhood home, past the field I used to play soccer in, past the school I got my first kiss in. Driving over the Brooklyn Bridge, all sad and quiet on my way home, where at the very least I could hug my wife and feel a little bit better until she spoke to her parents. All felt lost, but right when you think it can't get any worse, a light at the end of the tunnel. There's no way to say there's no light at the end of the bridge, so I just went with tunnel. They say you learn more from bombing than from crushing. And in this case, that might be true. I didn't believe it at first, but give me a second, I'll get to that. Let me tell you about the phone call I got while I was on the Brooklyn Bridge. It was the headliner. He didn't realize I had left. He was having a good time eating shrimp and lobster. Looked around and didn't see me, so I decided to call me to make sure I was okay. I thought this was just a pity call to make sure I didn't drive off that bridge, but it turns out he was actually impressed with my set. He thought I handled a really bad situation very well. He decides to book me to open for him at a real gig to see how I do in an actual comedy setting. He says, hey man, the manager wants to give you a little bit extra because he realizes they kind of buried you with that microphone. In one phone call, I got my money plus a bonus and a second chance. The same night I thought I ruined my career, it might have actually just started. I'd go on to open for him all over the country. In fact, I also did this show with him in London. Things started to get a little better. Now, the lessons I promised you. The first lesson, there's no such thing as a sure thing in comedy. You gotta be prepared for everything. Instead of sitting there visualizing myself crush, I probably could have listened to some old sets or thought about some faster jokes. So in that moment where I needed to go to a joke that worked, I didn't just go to my closer, which is long. Maybe it would have worked, maybe it didn't, but at least I would have been prepared. I also learned I need to work on my act a little harder. At that point in my career, things have been going pretty well. I was getting up at a bunch of spots. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was impressing the right people. In fact, I impressed this headliner, right? He gave me this gig. I thought, hey, my jokes are good. There's no such thing as a perfect joke. You always got to work on your jokes, and you always got to make them tighter and tighter and tighter. And had I done that, I would have had a lot more tight jokes to go to in that moment. The last lesson, and this is the one that surprised me the most, is the humanity of my in-laws. I thought I was going to be the butt of the joke forever. And yeah, there were some jokes for sure. Come on, they just watched me bomb. There's going to be jokes. And that's fine. They have a great personality. They also understand that not every set was going to be great. They saw how hard I was working to try to win over that crowd, and they had a lot of respect for me. My father-in-law even pulled me aside and said he didn't think he could ever do something like that. I had enough money to buy my wife a nice gift and maybe not have to eat ramen noodles. Oh, and also, I was able to give her favorite gift of all, which is saving money. She's a real nerd like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. I did promise one more thing, which is that show set off a chain of events that allow me to focus more on the Cooligans podcast and less on trying to find all these odd jobs that I was working, which made the show a lot more popular. In fact, it basically became my full-time job. It got so big that it gave me a chance to get on CBS, which I just got fired from because I told a joke about their biggest star on the network. If you want to see that video, click right here. And while you're here, why don't you hit the subscribe button? I'm going to be doing a bunch more cool stories and probably some food content like this right here where I went to St. Louis in one day just to try pizza. Might as well follow along.